Coming up on a special edition of Sidewalks, we're going to take a look back at our only interview with the legendary Marvel Comics publisher Stan Lee, who passed away at the young age of 95 on November 12, 2018. But first, I had a chance to interview in 2016 Stan Lee's daughter, J.C. Lee, as she talks about her famous father.
Hi there, nice to meet you from a Lee to a Lee.
That's right.
Right?
I'm sorry if part of some of these questions are going to be asked about your father.
That's
but,
okay. He's the living legend, he's the star, and I'm just proud and glad to be here.
So, the first question, of course, is, what's it like to be the daughter, be a family member of Stan Lee?
A privilege, an honor, and I say to him at times, I'm your #1 fan. And then I think, oh wait, mother first. But, it's great. I share him too much with all of you. I'm far too generous. It's quite a sacrifice because he's always working and he loves you guys so much. But, he's an example. The way he leads his life, it's straight up, no drink, no smoke. He walks, he eats right, he gets on the scale, he's a pound heavy, he's a pound light. Very conscious and very charming, so much fun. I mean, he's always a big kid, and it's all about being happy, and we all see the glass full rather than empty, whatever the glass is.
Yeah, here's a picture of him right now. We recently did a satellite interview with him. He was promoting his a book.
Always promoting a book. It's like, which one? But
yeah.
I know.
But, he's in his 90s. I mean, he's so energetic and, it's amazing how.
Listen, I'm hoping in his hundreds. I'm hoping he's going to be 100, and we're all going to be like Stan Lee at 100 is in the house. He just plays it right, and God's good to him, and because he's just a good man, and he just loves and really cares about everyone here. Yeah. I mean, I used to do his fan work, and his fan mails, open them, and if he could have, he would have really probably hand-delivered each fan letter. He wouldn't have even sent it. He would have knocked on the doors. It is all about you guys.
So let's talk about you here. When you were growing up, did he,
Always a crayon in my hand.
Yeah, did you have a crayon in your hand? Also, he says, I want you to learn how to read, and here's a comic book called Amazing Spider-Man.
Never. Not even close. No? Not even close. First of all, the comic books are more male-oriented, and they always have been. And my dad didn't bring his work home. He always brought his work home where he was discussing it. I mean, he was working all night and after dinner and before, and he works. But he never said to my mother and I, what do you think? Or do you think this man doesn't need to ask anybody? So, he might say, he really doesn't. He does it all himself. He's a one-man band. But just him coming home was enough because he was colorful and energetic and happy and always enthusiastic. But we really didn't share his work, or he didn't ask questions or what we thought. He always knew himself. And I always knew he was going to be like this. I always knew this was going to happen.
So you said you knew, of course, what he did. When was the first time in your life that you knew what he exactly did? Did it showed you something?
No, but I always knew because, as a child, you look and you see. And the man was always behind his typewriter, and he was always drawing things. And so since I was a baby, I saw him with something in his hand or reading. He's so good. He knows everything of Rudyard Kipling and Shakespeare, and he's such a man of the word. But it wasn't like he did something then all of a sudden, or he said, let me share with you. He never wasn't doing that. So, we always watch our parents. It was never a surprise or a shock. And I think I was told I always had a crayon in my hand since I could hold it. I think maybe I wanted to be like my daddy with a crayon in the hand. But I'm happy for him, and I'm so proud for him,
And, you're proud because you also even wrote a book about, let's talk about that.
I put together a book, and I'm happy with it. My daddy likes it, so as long as I get his approval, because he's a hard act.
Let's talk about the book, the title.
Yes, it's called Stan Lee, A Love Story. It's all about love, and it's just pictures of us till I'm probably about 7 or 8 years old. So it's all pictures of them frolicking in the beach, and we always had lots of dogs. And you see me always with a crayon in my hand.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love my daddy, and whatever time it's true, whatever time you have quality time is quality time. You know, it doesn't have to always be the quantity, because I'm thinking now of him throwing balls for me. He'd come home and I was like, Daddy, let's go outside and throw balls, those Spalding pink balls, you know? And a great guy, he'd do it, but his mind was still on his stories and coming home to all of you. But I don't know if I answered the question, but, you know, the book is wonderful, and it just, I went through, as he said, so many private photos, and it was just the three of us, so no one's really taking the photo. You know, it was hard to sort of put it all together, but I hope that I can share. It was a very special life, you know? It was special with animals and with love, because it was all about love. It was a young, beautiful couple, and we had our own art. My mother's very creative and talented, and she was always with the house, and we were always looking and staring and making something beautiful and making something better for everybody else. You know, everyone in the neighborhood wanted to see my mother's home, and she decorated everyone's, and I just lived with these two phenomenally creative, talented people.
That was J.C. Lee. We have more with J.C. on our website at sidewalkstv.com, so take a look at that. But coming up next, host Veronica Castro had the privilege to interview the legendary comic book publisher for Sidewalks, as we take a look back to remember Stan Lee. Thank you for watching Sidewalks Entertainment on television. Don't forget, after the show, you can visit us on social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and our website, sidewalkstv.com.
Hello and welcome to Sidewalks. Our next guest is a legend himself who helped create the Marvel Universe with some memorable superheroes, and we might even consider him a superhero as well. I'd like to welcome the brilliant Stan Lee to the show. Stan, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, it's a pleasure being here, but if I knew you were going to consider me a superhero, would you excuse me for a moment? I'll go home and get my costume.
Please do. I wonder if you do have a cape at home in your wardrobe.
Well, you know, it's a funny thing. When I first did these superheroes, I tried one book, The Fantastic Four, with a group of heroes who didn't wear costumes, and I got the most horrible fan mail. We love the story, but we'll never buy another issue unless you give them costumes. For some reason, superhero fans love costumes.
It's so true. I know. And I've been a comic book geek by default because I grew up with brothers collecting a ton of comics and wearing the capes and watching animation. So I wonder, do you have a collection of comic books too at home since you were growing up?
It's terrible. I don't have a collection at all.
My goodness.
I was too stupid to save them. Most people say my mother made me throw them out. My mother didn't care. I could have saved every one. I was the idiot who didn't. I'd read one, enjoy it, throw it away, and get the next one.
Well, Stan, it is amazing. You've been telling stories for a long time and have had huge success. Do you remember when you first realized you wanted to tell stories, and maybe a little quick inspiration of your superhero, your first superhero?
Well, I started out even before superheroes. When I was a little kid, I used to love to write and draw stories. When I was like 7 or 8 years old, I would draw a horizon line on a piece of paper, and then I would draw little stick figure characters running and fighting and racing and doing silly things, and I would imagine what they were saying. So I think I always loved telling stories, even to myself.
Yeah, that is very inspiring. We're so excited. I'm really curious though. Do you have a superhero that you really identify with the most out of all the superheroes?
No, not really. Certainly not the Hulk. When people ask what superhero I'd like to be, I usually say Iron Man, because he's so rich and handsome and glamorous and so forth. But they're all, you may not be aware of this, but most of them are fictitious.
Yeah. But I know there's probably so much that goes into creating these characters. And now at the age of 93, Stan, you have proven that you still got it with storytelling. Let's talk a little bit about the Zodiac Legacy, The Dragon's Return, which is the second novel in this book series you've been creating. What inspired you to continue with the series and creating these stories?
Well, I was asked to do it by the people at Disney, and they said they'd even lavishly illustrate the book to make me feel comfortable with it. But the idea of doing a book in novel form, I mean, it was hard to say no, especially it's a real comic book superhero type of series. I mean, it's about the Zodiac, and it's about young people who each have one of the powers of the Zodiac, and it's about a villain who had the dragon power. But in the first issue, the kids stripped him of the dragon power. Now, in the second issue, he's fighting desperately to get it back and to destroy the kids. And the second issue has a lot of surprises I can't tell you about, but I can tell you we're going to wrap it up in the third issue. It'll be a trilogy. So you better remember all the things you see in the second issue, because they'll have a bearing on what you're going to get when you get the third issue.
That's right. We're excited for it. Stan, you helped create the Marvel Universe, and the Zodiac Legacy is a chance for you to create another new universe for a new group of readers. How does that responsibility feel?
Well, it's a great responsibility. I've got to make sure that this Zodiac universe, if you want to call it that, is true to form, and it has to be the type of thing that I know the readers will empathize with and care about and want to see more about.
That was our interview with the one and only Stan Lee. He will truly be missed. For more full-length celebrity interviews, visit sidewalkstv.com.